What's going on, America? Kevin from Kevin's Corner, where I try to make some sense out of nonsense. And there's a clip that I want y'all to listen to because it kind of sums up the behavior of the killdeer. Now, I bet you're asking yourself, Kev, what is a killdeer? Well, a killdeer is a little bird. It's a little bird that is kind of reckless with its behavior. Now, what do I mean by that? This bird knows that humans exist around park lots and in neighborhoods and stuff like that. But for some reason, this bird recklessly and carelessly builds its nest right out in the open for everybody to stumble across. But then when people start getting close to that nest, the killdeer starts acting a fool. That is how you know that the killdeer is bluffing. You know why? Because the killdeer senses that you're getting closer and closer to its nest, and it has to protect the eggs. So whenever you start seeing the killdeer act up and pretend to be wounded and making a big old scene, you know you're close to that nest. Same thing with our current political atmosphere and our so-called media. You know you're always close to the truth when the liberal media starts acting up. So with no further ado, you know I like my analogies, my parallels and stuff. Let's get into the human version of the killdeer. This video is brought to you by Extreme Tees. If you like what you see, click on the link below this video and put Kevin in the promo code and you'll get yourself a 20% discount. Now this year is already whizzing by, huh? You're a year closer to retirement, but are your savings a year closer? If they're not and you're worried that you won't make it, get in touch with Noble Gold about putting precious metals in your IRA or 401k. You won't get hassled, they'll just lay out your options. And this month they're gifting a 1/10 ounce solid gold American Eagle coin with any qualifying plan that you start. And all you got to do is call 877-646-5347 or you can visit noblegoldinvestments.com. That is noblegoldinvestments.com. Now, let's get to this video. There you go. The killdeer acting a complete fool. But
Dave, this is flat out censorship.
It's insane. And I mean, the important thing to remember here is that there's no violation of rules, that there are no rules. What happened and what always happens is somehow this group got flagged either by users or an algorithm. It shows up in front of some, 23-year-old with a complicated haircut and pronouns in their bio. And they say, oh, this looks conservative. We better ban it. It happens every day on Facebook and myriad other social media platforms. Sometimes they correct it and they say, oh, that was a mistake. That was done in error. But by then, the damage is done. And you and I both know it only happens in one direction.
Now, think about that, guys. This man makes a good point. He's talking about the truckers. And of course, if you've been following news, you know that the truckers up in Canada has been kind of boycotting and protesting, and a lot of support have come and people are behind them. But the problem with that is people are behind them. These folks have now discovered that nest where Justin, aka the man chicken, has left all of those eggs out there, for everyone to see. They now know that this guy has been taking advantage of our kindness and is laying right out there in the open. And so to try to help him out, to try to cover this up, to try to disguise it, what ends up happening is the news start acting up. They start going after the protesters. They start demonizing them. And in this particular case, social media has also got involved. And this is where I get upset. You know something is going wrong or right, depending on your perspective, if the social media starts to attack it. The more that they attack something, the more you know you're close. You're on to something. So Gofundme decided to do what? Check this out. So let's check this out. What's going on here? Okay, Freedom Convoy 2022. That's a lot of money. A lot of zeros, y'all. $10 million. Wow. To GoFundMe? Now, you would think GoFundMe would be happy to make all that. What? Wait a minute. Campaign not found. We're sorry, but the campaign cannot be found. Please check the link URL and try again. For what? Where'd all that money disappear to? Okay, well, what is this? Okay, GoFundMe indicated Friday plans to reimburse or redirect the charity most of the $10 million donated to support truckers in Ottawa trying to reverse COVID-19 mandates. Now, why would GoFundMe decide to take all that money, $9 million, and had the nerve to say they weren't giving it back? Man, do you know? There is fighting words. Folks will do some bad things to you over their money, and that ain't no piece of chump change, man. So this organization that has a public platform is making decisions to block, hinder any type of fundraising for someone or a group of people who they don't meet their, I guess, qualifications, which they really have no good qualifications because they just make it up as they go. And that is how you know if some other shenanigans are involved in this. Because if this was BLM or some other left-wing group trying to raise some money, they wouldn't snatch their funds. So why are they doing this for these truckers? What excuse could you possibly give? With the exception of you are part of this cabal to help suppress any real true grassroots protests. These are common folks, ain't broke no laws, none of that. Just come up with out of the clear blue, it doesn't meet our standards, we promoting this and that, therefore your money's no good here, and we're not going to reimburse it. These folks done lost their mind. Uh-oh, what's this? Gofundme backtracks on redistributing money from Canada truckers under the threat of fraud investigation. So in other words, money talks and bullcrap walks. The threat of being sued made them repent, y'all. Well, it should have never got to that. So whenever you want to use a gauge to find out what is truth, what is lies, what is for the people, what is against the people, all you got to do is look at big business, look at the media, look at the political party who is doing everything they can to silence, censor, or suppress a group of people. That'll let you know what's good, what's bad. When you look at the Democrats, all you got to ask yourself is, what do they support? What do they reject? Usually, what they support is always something evil. If they hate it, it's always usually something good. When they say, I don't want a Jim Jordan on this J6 investigation, but we want to have the investigation and get to the bottom of it. You got to ask yourself, why don't you want him on there? Because he's good and you guys have evil intentions. See, when y'all sit back and say Black Lives Matter and all of their damage that they did for a whole summer was nothing more than mostly peaceful protests. But yet, anything that looks out of place amongst all of these people up there, all of a sudden, everybody's guilty. Everybody is a white supremacist and a white nationalist and stuff. No more just saying mostly peaceful protesters because it doesn't fit their agenda. So guys, let's get to the punchline because this man right here, this next statement is beautiful.
Think about Facebook censored it was a New York Post opinion piece raising the issue that that coronavirus came from a lab in Wuhan. But that was censored. Over and over again, the information that these media companies have peddled to the American people was wrong.
You know, if you want to know whether a story in the New York Post is true, just try to figure out if social media has banned it, and then you'll know that it is.
Oh, snap! Now, that's a wonderful way to approach this. See, same thing. My example of the killdeer. If you want to know if you're close to something valuable or something that might even hurt the Democrats, the left, the globalists, or whoever, just start to say, well, what are they suppressing? What groups or people or ideas or opinions, all of these major corporations that should have nothing to do with censoring you, it shouldn't even be their business. It should be, yo, man, look, why don't you work that out amongst yourselves? That ain't got nothing to do with us. These folks right here are doing the same thing that you guys are doing. They're protesting, they're utilizing the voices, and folks support that, and folks want to give money to that. But no. Whenever bullies and folks like that are so powerful, but for some reason, they humble themselves to focus on your little movement. That's the first indicator that they're pulling that killdeer technique. You're on to something. You're getting close. When a big company like Gofundme decides to take your money away, when a story comes out about the Chinese Wuhan virus in the lab and stuff, oh man, we got to suppress that. We got to block all that mess. Then that means we're getting close, y'all. Right about then, we're starting to smell it. Like, I can smell it. And you see these folks starting to put on their show. They start flipping around. They start doing stuff like censoring folks, shutting you up, getting your stuff off, taking your channel down. But there's more examples of these human killdeer folks right now. Let's check this out.
I want to show all kinds of opinions.
Which sounds great, but not all opinions are created equal. You think about major newsrooms like CNN that have health departments and deaths and operations that work hard on verified information on COVID-19. And then you have talk show stars like Joe Rogan who just wing it. who make it up as they go along.
That's right.
And because figures like Rogan are trusted by people that don't trust real newsrooms, we have a problem that's much bigger than Spotify, much bigger than any single platform, Kate. But that's what is the heart of this right now.
That's what goes to the heart of this, Brian. I'm glad Open Stadium up top went ahead and cleared all that up about this Joe Rogan situation. Now, why Joe Rogan? I mean, heck, this dude ain't bothering you. What does he have to do with you, Brian? If he disagrees with your whole issue with the horse pills and stuff, what does that have to do with you? Well, because they're trying to lead you away from some type of truth. They're trying to lead you away from all of the garbage that they done left out in the open. All of the lies, contradictions, all of the misceptions, the deceptions, and the projection, and all of that. And he's a threat. And here this guy up here talking about we have to do way more than him, and then belittled his voice. I mean, we're a huge corporation. We got all these moving parts. We're trying to come to the truth. And then this guy just gets up there and wing it. But yet, him winging it like quadruples your audience. You know why? Because people can see through bullcrap. People like genuine people. They don't want to be dealing with no fake garbage. It's very clear this dude's up here reading a script. And so CNN has missed the point. And they sent out that little killdeer, Brian Stelter, to start trying to lead folks away from Joe Rogan, which, if you're smart, that's your number one indicator. You're close. You're close. He must be saying something that's exposing them. They must have left something laying around. And as folks gravitate towards it, the louder they become, the more they distract. Brian out there flipping around, trying to say, hey, not over here, look over here, follow me. No, Brian, we know we're close. Here's another example. Oh, can a dictator be censored? You think they could censor him? They're always saying Trump had to be censored. Why would they censor Trump, though? Because those are real dictators. Yeah, I don't think those guys would let themselves be censored in these countries.
Today, so the president's banned from Twitter, 88 million followers, banned from Facebook, 35 million followers. Parler appears to be getting shut down. What do you make of all this?
Yeah.
Well, this has been going on for a long time. President Trump has been violating rules all over social media for a long time, but they gave him a pass because he was considered a newsworthy figure. And now, then they started to label him, as you know, and that wasn't very effective. And he continued to press the game and game these social media companies. And then at this point, when he was part of incitement using their tools, they decided to shut him down finally. And of course, it comes at the end. This has been, 4 years of this going on. And now at the end, they finally realize how dangerous it is because of what happened at the Capitol.
You hear that bullcrap? They sent that killdeer out there to distract us. So now, remember, guys, a dictator cannot be censored. Who really has the power when you can shut down a president of the United States? Those first three guys that I showed, they're not getting censored or shut down by social media. And yet our media has participated in a campaign to silence the president. Now notice some of the reasons that they wanted to silence him. If you ever want to know who's aligned with corruption, the corporate cabal against the people, remember, these are the minority. Notice the big numbers that they talked about as she went into her little speech. Millions and millions of followers. Millions. Yet, for some reason, these folks say their opinion is more important than President Trump's. Their assessment of him and his character and what he's saying is more accurate than the million followers that listened to him and followed him on all these social media platforms. And then they do something that just contradicts everything about their claims that he's a dictator and stuff. They censor the dictator. Now, if you are powerful enough to censor the dictator, then that probably makes you the dictator. And then you send this killdeer out there to push other lies and propaganda. So he's been violating the rules the whole time. What rules? What has he been saying on social media that's dangerous, scary to folks' health, misleading folks? Well, of course, that's not what he was doing. The problem is folks were actually listening. The problem was he wasn't misleading folks. He was leading folks to that nest shell that's built out in the open. Left those eggs out there. And so as he got closer and more of a threat, thus comes the censorship, which lets you know what's true and what's lies. Trump was telling the truth. And that's why they had to shut him down. But whoa. Speaking of shutting folks down, hey, these are my stumping grounds because I'm on YouTube. Here's the CEO of YouTube, y'all, telling us how they decide what's truth and what's lies.
And with regard to COVID and with regard to vaccines, that has been a top priority for us. We have a number of different ways that we address that. So first of all, we want to make sure that if there's information that violates our policies, we came up with 10 different policies around COVID. Then if that's a violation of policies, then that's something that we'll remove. We removed over 1 million videos associated with COVID. But we also want to make sure that we're raising up information that we think that come from trusted and authoritative sources.
Now, who decides who's trusted and authoritative sources? See, this is where it comes down to these folks are a part of this new progressive socialist movement because I guess they decide that. Now, I'm not aware that this woman is an epidemiologist. I'm not aware that she has a chemistry background or any of that stuff. She's not a doctor. I'm not even aware that YouTube have professionals that work for YouTube that would be able to even understand what's truth and what's lies. So what you're telling me then is YouTube is basing truth and lies and what's authoritative sources versus non on what? Your opinion? But we can't though. See, right now they're choosing to believe, I guess, reliable sources like Funky Fauci and the CDC and stuff like that. But we're not allowed to make those choices. So instead of her saying, well, we removed millions of videos, including the ones where Dr. Fauci misled folks and we found all of his emails and they done retracted all of this and they've given contradictory information and suggestions and all of that, and things keep changing. And then on one thing they say, well, you know what, all it needs one shot, then 3, then whatever, you get the shot, you can go back to normal, but then you can't. All that stuff is on YouTube still. It's not taken down. That's not a part of the misinformation, but you're using those sources as reliable sources. And then you have the wisdom to say what's an unreliable source with no degree, no understanding, no scientific background. So what's making you make that choice? It can't be you understanding the science, or you don't care about the science. You care about the cause. And therefore, these doctors that were censored, which you're about to see, they were getting close to exposing that nest that they left out. That nest of corruption, that nest of tyranny, that nest of control, that nest of power, that nest of propaganda. And they had to do what the killdeer does. So that's what that lady was. She was out there doing her job as a killdeer. But listen, here's the folks that they done took off because apparently these doctors aren't reliable sources.
A group calling themselves America's Frontline Doctors.
I'm Dr. Stella Emmanuel.
She's a black
I'm
woman.
a primary care physician in Houston, Texas.
Perhaps you saw this rather extraordinary press conference a few days ago, before it was censored, stripped off social media, and labeled dangerous. That bold proclamation flies in the face of what the World Health Organization, the FDA, and what all the usual TV doctors say.
There it is, y'all. No wonder they got censored. Now, you would think the progressive, tolerant, open-minded left would embrace this highly educated immigrant, too. She's an immigrant, y'all. She highlights the best of us. She highlights America being a melting pot. She represents the Statue of Liberty. As they always talk about, everybody comes here to a better life. She done came here, got her a better life. She's a minority. She's a woman. She meets all of these little check boxes. But yet when she came out and started speaking against their narratives, she became labeled as dangerous. So they sent out YouTube and all these other networks to do what the killdeer does. Distract us from the truth that these people were talking about. Go ahead, distract us by censoring them, silencing them. And by doing that, you let us know that those people are on to something. They're telling the truth. And that's why they're being censored. So now let's learn about this doctor that's dangerous and how they tried to paint her out to be evil.
I don't know why people are getting crazy about this.
I don't either.
They think you're dangerous. Of course they think I'm dangerous because I'm speaking truth.
Oh, she sees it too? Yeah, man. See, we see through the killdeer's tactics. All of that flipping and flopping and flopping and flipping and all of that mess and the flipping and flipping. We know what you're doing. You trying to lead us astray. You trying to get us away from that nest. We're getting close. That's why she was censored. That's why her blackness didn't matter. Being a woman didn't matter. Being an immigrant didn't matter. None of that. Only thing mattered was protecting their lies an agenda. And that's how you know they were onto something. So let's see how she responds. Here we go.
I've said it many times. Number one, ask Dr. Anthony Fauci. When's the last time you saw a patient? There are many categories of spirit hospitals.
So here we go.
Here we go. Hallelujah. The first kind I would discuss is the hidden one.
Dr. Emmanuel is also a minister, one with perhaps a slightly different take than most of us are used to.
Okay. It's off the beaten path to say that demons are sleeping with you overnight.
But demons are sleeping with people.
Now I'm curious about the demons. I mean, are they physically bodied demons, or how does it work?
Why would they be called demons if they were physically bodied?
So they're going to try to go ahead and do a hit piece on her. Now they send in another killdeer to try to lead us away from the truth by bringing up this woman's religion. So now, instead of freedom of religion and all that stuff, she's getting attacked. Now, understand this, guys. There's so many sects of Christianity. And I can tell that she's probably a part of a Holy Ghost-filled, fire, baptized in Jesus' name, hand-clapping denomination of Christianity. But by her talking about demons, they're trying to make her now seem, what, spooky? Of course, because the world can't understand spiritual things. See, just like these globalists don't understand that they're being used by Diabolos to bring in the last days, you would be wasting your breath if you told them, hey, do you know you're part of helping bring in the New World Order? What? You're spooky. You're crazy. If you start telling them, you know, the devil is using all of you folks up there that's deceiving our country. I've come to conclude these people that are involved in this, you have to ask yourself, why would big tech, why would academia, why would the liberal media, why would most of all the Democrats and some Republicans, why would they all want to do things that would ultimately bring down the very thing that provides their power, their money, their status, all of that. All of the stuff that America gives to them that have blessed them, for some reason, knowingly or unknowingly, they've chosen to do things that threatens that. Well, they have a religion too. See, so now she's talking about demons, and I believe in demons, and I see those demons manifested in the behaviors that I watch on TV constantly come out of the fake news, the lies, the deception, the manipulation, the gaslighting. I see that. I see demons. They see progress. They see open-mindedness. They see all of the crap that they do to justify that. It's their religion. It has to be something greater than them. And because they don't embrace an afterlife, they don't embrace faith, they're focused on everything that goes on down here. This is their religion, their global agenda. It got to be bigger than them. I think they've aligned themselves up with some demonic influence that makes them approach this not based on rationale and logic and how them tearing up our country and doing what they're doing with all of this crap right here, they're not taking that in consideration. And the only thing that would make you overlook that is you've bought into some type of religious belief that makes you say, well, I could just enjoy all my money and my power, but that's not good enough. There's something else I believe we need to do that might even put our safety at risk and all the people in our country, and they're doing it. And they got the nerve to be trying to judge her and discredit her based off of her religion. So the very demons that she's talking about is the ones that just tried to censor her.
I don't know.
And I'm not going to stop. I'm not going to be silenced. My immediate plan is to pray until these powers, these diabolic powers that want to destroy these nations are destroyed. And it's going to be war. Do you understand me? I'm a warrior. I'm a sniper in the kingdom of God.
Bam. Now watch him take that. She's talking about violence, sniping people. Look at her. She's spooky and deep. She's a witch doctor. She's not even a real doctor, I don't think. They would do stuff like that. That right there was a hit piece. Right there, that was that killdeer out there trying to draw all the people away from her. And here she is talking about, hey, you ain't going to silence me. You're not going to shut me up. I'm a sniper in the Lord. But of course, they would try to make her look like she's crazy. And you can't be a sold out Christian and be a scientist too. So why are y'all listening to her? But there's somebody else they went after too. It's not just her. Here's some more unreliable sources that YouTube felt they're smarter than this other doctor.
Simone Gold became widely known from her appearance in a video that went viral last year.
There are many thousands of physicians who have been silenced from telling the American people the good news about the situation.
This is Dr. Simone Gold in a video from July that got more than 14 million views.
No wonder they tried to silence her.
It features a dozen doctors from her organization called America's Frontline Doctors. YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter later took down the video for misinformation on COVID-19.
The fallout from then has been fast and furious. The other hospital I was working at fired me because I was working at 2. And it changed my life completely. I now go around the country speaking about these issues.
There you have it, y'all. Killdeer in action. Yeah, all those 14 million or so people who was watching that, It's too much of a threat to the killdeer's nest. So what do? They send out social media to silence doctors, not some far-right extremists, somebody sitting down in a barn. I don't believe in none of this mess, man. It's all made up. No, we're talking about doctors. As that one lady said, when is the last time Dr. Fauci treated a patient? These were people on the front line. These were credible doctors, and yet YouTube felt they weren't credible. Facebook felt they weren't credible. Or did they? They probably felt that they were credible. Therefore, they silenced them. Get where I'm going with this, y'all? It's not the sources that's uncredible that these folks choose to silence. It's the ones that are. And you know that by the fact that all of these big, powerful corporations and people focus on them. Think about Nicki Minaj, one black lady, an entertainer that probably a lot of people wouldn't even have taken as seriously until she made those comments. And then all of these people decide to come crashing down on her. All of them start to attack her like she was a virus that just entered the body. Why? They ain't got nothing else better to do. White House trying to bring her up there for a meeting. Is she that important? Of course. She's that influential. She's a potential danger. Therefore, instead of celebrating that black woman, nope, we got to silence her. Why? Because she was telling the truth. Same reason why my channel won't grow. My subscribers are being taken away. Those reasons are why these things are happening. But guys, it don't just stop there. Y'all remember this?
Yeah, we know that the original laptop from hell is sitting in a laboratory at FBI headquarters in Washington, D.C. or Quantico or wherever they look at laptops from hell.
I mean, $10 million for introductions alone was one deal that he had with the Chinese. Tens of millions of dollars were flowing into his bank accounts and also his business partners and his uncle, Joe Biden's younger brother, Jim Biden.
Are you in agreement with what Twitter and Facebook are doing? Or do you think that journalistic organizations,
I think we've got to go back to the fact
should publish this stuff?
Look, the original sin here for for Facebook, for Twitter, for all the social platforms is that they didn't want to have any rules around speech, which is why it's because they don't want to be considered a publisher and be liable for that content.
But this goes very much to the issue of who do you want to let be the arbiter of the news and of the quote-unquote truth.
Good point, man. See, these folks decided now a credible news outlet that's been around for years was no longer credible when it came out with the story about Hunter Biden's laptop, which would have hurt their candidate. Now, do you think they didn't run that story because it was filled with lies and misinformation? Do you think they removed it from their platforms because they felt that this information was begotten illegitimately or something, and they come up with all this crap on the spot? We can't do it because we don't post things that have been acquired illegitimately or stolen, but you put Trump's taxes out there. You still got all the information up there about Russia collusion, which we found out was a lie. But for some reason, they didn't want to run that story about Hunter's laptop. Now, why wouldn't they want to do that, Greg? Could it be that those human killdeers were trying to lead us away from the truth? Maybe Greg Gutfield has a take on this. Here we go.
So Politico just published quite the bombshell. Turns out the emails from Hunter Biden's laptop were authenticated. Yeah, imagine that. Authenticating things we already knew to be true. And it was only because the rest of the media wanted Joe Biden to win that it was buried faster than your kid's guinea pig you accidentally stepped on because you were drunk. A person who had independent access to Hunter Biden's emails confirms 2 of the emails the Post published, including one about a potential deal with China with the line, 10 held by H for the big guy. We already knew this because we didn't ignore Hunter's former business partner, Tony Bobulinski. He confirmed them forever ago. It's that China email that matters. It reveals the Bidens were in cahoots to make a buttload of money with an enemy. That fact would have doomed Joe's election chances if it was treated like the deadly grenade that it was. But
so what you're telling me then, Greg, is that they sent out those human killdeers to distract us and lead us away from the truth. They got out there and they sent out all of these killdeer agents on these fake news networks to try to undermine that story, coming up with some of the craziest, most bizarre conspiracies ever. You know what they coming up with, y'all? They number one go-to, the Russians did it, y'all. So instead of running the story and respecting journalism and all of that, they decide until we gather ourselves and figure out an approach to undermine this report and help our candidate, we're just going to stop the flow of information. We don't want our ignorant audience hearing about this and questioning whether Joe's fit to lead the country. So what did they do?
But thanks to the press and big tech, it didn't. So just for old time's sake, let's look back at how the compliant media treated the story when it first came out. How the newest anti-Biden narrative was manufactured. U.S. authorities investigating if recently published emails are tied to Russian disinformation efforts in targeting Biden. And remember NPR? Why haven't you seen any stories from NPR about the New York Post Hunter Biden story? Yeah. Well, we don't want to waste our time on stories that are not really stories. Really? Here's MSNBC. Why does Rudy Giuliani have access to peddle this disinformation repeatedly? This is not censorship. Facebook is under no obligation to allow a disputed report that appears to contain disinformation. And Joy Reid tweets, good for Joe Biden. No need to dignify a Russian hatchet job. We're not doing emails again, America. Remember that letter signed by 50 former intel officers, right? Hunter Biden's story is Russian disinfo, dozens of former intel officials say. Well, either they were dupes or they were traitors. That letter came together faster than a new bong at Cat's house.
That's right. They sent out those human killdeers. Yeah, they said, oh, wait a minute, we're in trouble. Some of Joe's corruption has leaked out. Someone has gotten hold to his dumb crackhead son's laptop. So media block all flow of information, send out these killdeers to distract the public, to downplay it, to call it misinformation, disinformation, throw in the Russians somehow. And then we'll clean it up by going and grabbing some people that we don't need to get into all of their background and, you know, if they really was a part of the intel community. We'll just say people in the intel community discredited it, but no one did. No one did. Only to find out later that it was true. And that's why they silenced it. That's why they shut it down. That's why Facebook removed it. Because it was true. Well, they're not just doing it, Hunter Biden and all this stuff. They went after Crowder too.
A few days ago, a writer at Vox.com demanded that YouTube ban Steven Crowder. Why? For the crime of insulting him. Turns out the Vox writer in question is hardly a sympathetic figure. Hardly. He's got a long history of leveling racist attacks online. Oh my. He's called for physically assaulting people he disagrees with politically, even as he whines about being oppressed himself. He is, in other words, a classic archetype on the left. He's a fascist posing as a victim. No sensible adult would take him seriously. And yet YouTube is obeying his commands. The company announced it will demonetize Steven Crowder's YouTube channel, killing his business. They did this even though in a statement they admitted that Crowder had broken no rules.
So then why are you doing it? Well, because they don't like folks talking about stuff that hurts the narrative of their partners. You know, they're quick on the draw when it comes down to censorship on the right. Quick on it. They don't let nothing go by. If they even suspect a smidge of being offensive, might hurt somebody's feeling, might not give all the information about the you know what or whatever, shut them down. We'll figure out if it's true on the back end. Let's shut them down first, and then we'll go ahead and ask questions. One of the ways they control the flow of traffic is by hurting people's pockets, making the platforms hard to prosper on, things like that. Yeah, those killdeers are in action. Mess with Crowder. But Tucker, what else about this? Garbage.
Vox, amazingly, meanwhile, released a series of statements demanding that YouTube censor Crowder entirely. Not just demonetize him, but bounce him off. Whoa. The real question, though, for the rest of us is, why is this allowed to continue?
That's a good question. So you got to understand, guys, they don't want opposition at all. They don't want it to be close. They don't want this to be debatable. They don't want the threat of you resurfacing again and people following you. They don't want Joe Rogan just to be altering his platform. No, they want that dude gone. They want him completely silenced, period. Rip him off of everything. Go after his money. Even if he leaves that platform, all of that will follow him to the next platform because it's not about the platform at this point. It's about Joe Rogan and his influence. Their goal is to kill your influence, and they will use everything that they can to do it. They will destroy you by intimidating, threatening, or demonizing whatever banks you might use to process your money. Then all of a sudden you'll get some letter. We can no longer carry all your transactions because this is that new world order crap right there, man. Yeah, I couldn't even say some of the words that those doctors were saying. I couldn't use hydroxychloroquine. Why? Because of censorship. Because if I said that, everybody listening on YouTube, and I ain't talking about humans, first that AI would catch that. And then some human, if I dispute it, will catch it and say he's pushing this and that. Let's go and demonetize that. Make it tough for him to earn a living on the platform. Threaten him, intimidate him. Make him wonder if he might be overstepping when he says something. Maybe if we do that to y'all a couple of times, you'll watch what you say. You'll think before you talk. So they're trying to actually destroy dissent. The left don't want to debate. They don't want none of that. They can't win those. They want complete control and dominance. They want to lead all of their bubbleheads away from that nest filled with corruption. Let's continue, Tucker.
Stop pretending. Platforms like Twitter and Facebook and YouTube, these are the modern public square. Yeah. Congress has acknowledged them as such. Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act gives tech companies special immunity from being sued for defamation or fraud. Immunity that we don't have on this channel, for example. What? And the purpose of this is to allow, quote, true diversity of political discourse. Really? It's a high-minded cause. Yeah. It's one of the reasons the owners of Twitter and Facebook and Google are so rich. You guaranteed that to them through your representatives in the Congress. And yet, in return, these tech companies violate the terms of the deal every minute of every day.
So then why are they getting it? Why are they getting these privileges? See, I don't understand. And I'm mad at the Republicans as well, because all they do is put on a little performance when they come to Congress, yell at them, get a nice little soundbite, and these folks go right back to Silicon Valley and do exactly the same thing. Nothing ever changes. And then there's so much of a bully that if other platforms surface and rise up, they'll even do everything they can to make it difficult for them. So guys, we come down to the end. We're now understanding these human killdeer are thrown out there trying to distract and take folks and lead them away from the truth. Whenever something like censorship arises, banning of video, removing folks off the platform, stopping their GoFundMe, it's probably because those people are threats to their lives and corruption. But we'll end with this. Look at this one.
President Trump's team is pointing to newly released surveillance video from State Farm and Rema as evidence of election fraud. Our chief investigator, Brendan Keefe, joins us. Brendan, another important opportunity here to separate fact from fiction.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we first saw the video in yesterday's state Senate hearing, but state investigators confirm they've had this video for weeks and determined that Fulton was legally counting ballots. But there is more to the story.
Okay.
Yeah, I saw 4 suitcases come out from underneath the table.
Supporters of the president are calling it suitcase gate.
They call it a suitcase.
But those are not suitcases. 11 Alive has confirmed they're the standard ballot containers used by Fulton County.
That's right, y'all. Y'all hear those killdeers? They don't want you focusing on the fact that those folks shouldn't have been in there late at night like that doing that. They don't want you to focus on the fact that they shouldn't have spent the night and they're counting ballots while all of the other people got sent to the crib. They don't want you focusing on that. They want you debating over whether those are suitcases or tubs. That's right. They don't want to answer the questions of why they sent everybody home and continued to count when they should have stopped and waited until the morning, but they didn't. So the killdeers come out to lead folks away from the truth.
The video shows is that they have pulled out plastic bins from underneath the desks. Those are bins that they keep under their desks near the scanners.
They've investigated this repeatedly, that they had a monitor on site the entire time. And frankly, this has been debunked for weeks by our Secretary of State's office.
I doubt he's seen the video. Your officials need to watch the video.
They did. The video is not new. State investigators reviewed the State Farm surveillance tapes weeks ago. Gabriel Sterling with the Secretary of State's office tweeted the 90-second video of election workers purporting to show fraud was watched in its entirety by Georgia's Secretary of State investigators, shows normal ballot processing.
Really? Y'all hear that? That human killdeer, all of the other ones that came out trying to tell us that what our eyes saw and the processes that we saw were normal. Don't you go snooping around that truth. So let us do some flipping and flopping and contorting ourselves to make you think that, hey, don't look over there, look over here. Nothing to see there. And if you question this, if you post a video about it, we'll go ahead and back that up with our big friends and big tech and all of that stuff. We'll shut you down completely, but we're going to start with distracting you over stupid stuff like, whether it was a tub or whether it was a suitcase. The bigger question is, okay, that's a normal process. to stop counting in the middle of the night, send everybody home, and then you spend a night over there, you and your buddies, and you drag stuff out that the rest of the folks couldn't see, and there's nobody sitting in there to check and see what you're doing, and you're just swiping all night, and then miraculously you come up with a huge difference the next morning in those ballots and end up causing the whole ties to turn in Georgia. Do folks really believe Georgia ended up going the opposite of what we know it went? No, we don't. So I don't care who they stick out there to flip and flop and try to, distract us. That's the problem. They know we see through it. We know it's an act. We know you're trying to lead us away from the truth. And that's why we're able to see the behavior of these human killdeers and what they're doing. You ever want to question whether something is true or not? All you got to do is say, well, who's attacking it? The powerful? So the powerful is attacking the public. The powerful is trying to silence the public, the people. That lets you know that you're on to something. Now, God bless y'all. God bless America. Don't forget, hit like, share my videos. Follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Rumble, all those good places. If you want to donate to my channel, which I'm pretty sure this video will be demonetized, feel free. My Cash App, my PayPal is below. Also, if you want to be a part of my $2 a month club, feel free. Just every month, if you remember, drop $2 into one of those accounts, and that helps me continue doing what I'm doing. And yeah, because I'm pretty sure those killdeer have been coming after me as well, and I'm nowhere near the size of some of these other folks. So guys, we're in an interesting situation. On one end, we're blessed to be able to see through the garbage, but on the other end, that puts us completely against the powerful, which I'm okay with that. Just like David, we are giant slayers. Now, God bless y'all. God bless America. See y'all next time in Kevin's Corner. Take care.